I love road trips. There's honestly nothing like that feeling of getting out on the road, heading somewhere exciting, visit family, go on vacation, whatever it is. You've set yourself up perhaps with a playlist. You've got the window rolled down, you're listening to the music, you're drumming your hands on the steering wheel as you go, you have your sunglasses on, and you are just ready to attack the road. 12 hours of driving? No problem. I can do that easily. That's what we think at the beginning. And of course, it never fails that perhaps it's even after 10 of those 12 hours, when there's just a little bit left to go, we start to drag and we start to slouch at the steering wheel and we start to look at the mile markers as they creep by and the miles seem to get further and further apart. The longer we go and the closer we get to our destination, time seems to slow down. Will we ever really make it? Of course, Lord willing, we do. But my fear is that that's about where we are in terms of the pandemic right now. Now, granted, none of us started with a pandemic playlist, and none of us were excited about having to endure what we've endured over the course of these last 10 months. But I do believe that we've all likely gone through periods of time where we've had a better attitude than perhaps we do now, because it seems like there is a light at the end of a tunnel. There is an end in sight. Even if it is still a couple of months away, there still seems to be a light, and we've made this turning point. The vaccine came out this week, and people have already begun to be vaccinated. And so there is this idea that maybe this will end before too long, but it seems like even knowing that, time has slowed down, and when will we be through this? So what do we do? Well, when you're in a car on a long road trip, sometimes you have to slap yourself awake a little bit and say, we've made it this far, we can do it. We've made it through most of this trip, we can push through to the end. And having given ourselves that little bit of a pep talk, we can then stay focused. Because remember, when you're on the road on a road trip, the last thing you want to do is to stop paying attention to the road, because that's when an accident will happen. Many of us, of course, over the course of these last couple of weeks, perhaps as the cases have grown even locally, each of us know more and more people who have been infected with the coronavirus, some even who have died. And so it's important for us to continue to stay focused on what it is that we are attempting to do in order to love our neighbor, keep the virus from spreading, and ending, Lord willing, this pandemic so that we can return to a more normal way of life. The other thing that we can do is to remind ourselves of the things that kept us in a much more positive attitude from the very beginning. When I first started these little reflections, the things that I kept telling us to do or encouraging us to do, and remember I was preaching to myself too, was to embrace the desert, to actually use all of this that we are going through as opportunities and situations to be able to learn how to put our hope and our focus and our trust in Christ. In that, we'll be able to find healing in the midst of the desert. Physical healing, Lord willing, when we are sick and if we ourselves are infected with this disease. But most importantly, that spiritual healing and that ability to give thanks to God and that ability to trust and hope in God in the midst of whatever circumstance that we are going through. Because, brothers and sisters, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And when we wake ourselves up, when we stay focused, when we look to embrace the desert and try to find healing, not only will we see the light at the end of the tunnel, we'll actually realize that the light is already present, because Christ is always present. Even when he ascended into heaven, he said, "Lo, I am with you always, even to the end of the age." Stay focused, embrace the desert, look for places of healing, and you will find Christ present here and now. And when we find his presence, no matter how long the road trip is, we will be able to make it to our destination, because we will not be relying on our own strength, but on the strength of Christ that really gets us to the end.